Approval of final regulation for proposed amendment of Regulation 61-68 Water Classifications and Standards. Notice of this hearing was published in the State Register in document number 4887. The following procedure will be used for the hearing. A member of the DHEC staff will describe the proposal. At the conclusion of that presentation, any member of the public may comment. I will call first on those who have signed up to speak. At the conclusion of their comments, there will be an opportunity for any other member of the public to speak. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes, and if several members of the group are present, please appoint a spokesperson for the group. Please state your name and organization for the court report. Please limit your comments to material that is relevant and is not repetitive of statements already made. If you have a written statement, please provide a copy to the reporter. Sean Clark will make the presentation for staff.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm here today to request board approval to amend Regulation 6168 water classifications and standards. The reason for this amendment is to comply with Section 303C of the Federal Clean Water Act. It requires the states to review and amend their water quality standards at least once every 3 years to incorporate the most recent federal criteria. In accordance with this requirement, the department is proposing to adopt a new federal criterion for adopting a revised standard for the aquatic life ambient water quality criteria for cadmium, a revised recreational water quality criteria for enterococci, a standard for aquatic life ambient water quality criteria for carbaryl, and a standard for the human health recreational ambient water quality criteria for microcystins and cylindrospermopsin to reflect the most current published criteria in accordance with Section 304A and 307A of the Clean Water Act. In addition, Attachment 4, calculations of the sample-specific freshwater acute and chronic criteria for metals, has been added to the appendix for clarity. To develop these regulations, the department published a notice of drafting in the State Register on February 22nd of this year, and since that time, the department has conducted several stakeholder meetings. These meetings were attended by representatives of the regulated community, environmental organizations, and others. In addition, a public meeting was held on September 23rd, and 3 sets of written comments were received from the public. After consideration of all timely received comments, staff made minor changes to the proposed regulatory text that was published on August 23rd. A summary of the comments and a description of the changes appear in Attachment B, Summary of Public Comments and Department Responses. Staff believe that the proposed changes to the amended regulation in front of you today meets the requirements of the Clean Water Act. Therefore, staff recommends, based on the information provided in public involvement, the board finds the need and reasonableness of the proposed amendment of Water Classifications and Standards, Regulation 6168, for submission to the General Assembly. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, has anyone signed up to speak?
Yes, one person.
All right.
Good morning. My name is Leslie Lenhardt. I'm with the South Carolina Environmental Law Project, and I am here to express support for these proposed changes to 6168. I know that members of the board are often faced with people up here not necessarily happy with what the staff are doing, and we are very, very pleased that the staff has taken this up and appreciate the need for these changes. I'd just like to highlight very briefly the particular change, which is the change in the standard for enterococci, which is a fecal cold form bacteria indicator, from 501 down to 104 for Class SB waters. We submitted a petition for rulemaking on behalf of the Charleston Waterkeeper in June, and while we're not taking credit for this, we certainly are very, very happy and pleased that the staff is taking these steps. And I just wanted to give you a brief example as to why this is significant. Down in Charleston, Shem Creek is classified as Class SB water. And we all know the value of that water body for tourism and recreation, but the water quality has just been historically woefully inadequate. And given the fact that it is a Class SB water, the standard for enterococci is not the same as for a Class A, the Class SA, though the uses are the same. And so when you have an exceedingly high level of enterococci in that water body, it doesn't trigger the fact standard, as you would if it were a class SA water. So you can have a very much increased level of bacteria without there being an acknowledgement of that exceedance. So if you drop the level to be consistent with all saltwater bodies to 104, then you have a much more accurate read and picture of what the water quality is. And that's not just for Shem Creek, that would be all along the coast. And it's very, very, very important that we do that so that we can place the proper focus, work with local governments to clean that water up, because it is just such a very valuable resource. And it just makes sense because all salt water should really have the same level. So that was basically all I wanted to say. I just wanted to commend the staff for taking this step, and we request that the board approve.
Does anyone else signed up to speak? All right. Does anybody else wish to speak in the audience? All right. Hearing none, any questions or discussion by board members as part of the public hearing?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. This is Alex Coleman. I got a question for Mr. Clark. One of the public comments dealt with moving, I guess, from monthly, weekly to daily monitoring. Can you speak on that? In that comment was from Jason Thompson, the Charleston Waterkeeper.
Yes, sir, it was. That is actually something that we put in all of our new permits anytime there's a change to the water quality standards. And so that item, as Mr. Thompson pointed out, will be in any new permits that come out from them. So basically our response was existing and new NPDES permits contain both a daily maximum and monthly average or geometric mean for bacteria effluent limitations. A compliance schedule should be provided to any NPDES permit where the effluent limitations are set to become more stringent. The department recognizes the likelihood there will be a capital cost to facilities in order to comply with this more stringent standard. So yes, sir, that is something that we will go ahead and put in whenever we renew their permit. Not so much a weekly geometric mean, but a monthly geometric mean.
Okay.
Who bores that cost?
John, did they give any indication that a significant capital burden? Is there any clue to what that means?
Well, the interesting thing about this particular system is that over the past decade, they've had 4 exceedances of the 501. When you look at us dropping the standard down to 104, they'll have had a total of 10 exceedances in the past decade, showing that for the past 3,650 some odd days, they had 10 exceedances, meaning they're 99.8% compliant. I think that proves their plant can certainly handle this change in the limits. It's just a matter of operations.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, sir.
That was the same line of questioning that I had. I was going to echo Mr. Kenny's earlier comments asking about cost impacts, but it sounds as if they're de minimis, really, or they should be able to operate within the limits with the current equipment.
With the data that we have, yes, sir.
10 in the last decade, and they would have exceeded 10 in the last decade, is what you
At
said.
the new standard. Yes,
That's
sir.
the new standard.
Yeah.
Do you know when those times occurred, where they're like spread out over the 10, or where have they like all of a sudden we've got 10?
That I don't know, but I do know they're an incredibly well-run utility. I seriously doubt they have had a string of them all of a sudden.
Okay.
And so my feeling is that it's been a couple of issues over the decade and that they've been well spread out, but I don't know that for certain.
Any other questions?
All right. This concludes the public hearing pursuant to Code Section 1-23-111 for approval of final regulation for proposed amendment of Regulation 61-68 water classification and standards. Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Is there any discussion from the table? Is there a motion?
I move that based on the public hearing and documents herein, to find for the need and reasonableness of the proposed amendment of Regulation 61-68, water classifications and standards, document number 4887, and grant approval for submission to the General Assembly for review.
So second,
I second.
Second. Yes, sir.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. We're on number 10.
Yes, sir, I'll back up to this. Mr. Taylor reads one more time.
Okay, all right.
You're good at reading.
Yes, sir.
We will now have a public hearing pursuant to Code Section 1-23-1